So I'm going to show you 3 order paper responses to some questions that came back today. The first order paper question was posed to Environment and Climate Change Canada by Conservative MP Gerard Deltel, who asked about whether or not the government had even calculated the greenhouse gas emissions expended to send an absolute army of hundreds of Canadian delegates to Egypt, actually to the resort town of Sharm el-Sheikh, for last year's annual United Nations Climate Change Summit, something that probably could have been a Zoom call or maybe even an email. Now, I know through other data that the government has already tabulated $622,000 in flights alone for people to attend that thing. And that number is not finalized. In fact, it's expected to grow. But the ministry tasked with lecturing Canadians about the deadliness of their own carbon footprint was forced to respond that they don't even care about their own. They're not even remotely interested enough in their own carbon footprint to bother calculating it. Here's their response to Deltel. The information requested is not systematically tracked in a centralized database. Environment and Climate Change Canada, they don't care about their carbon footprint to stop flying to these places. They only care about your carbon footprint to go to your kid's hockey game. Anyway, let's keep going because there's another very similar order paper response to a somewhat cheeky similar question. Full disclosure, my own MP asked this prickly question through an order paper to the Privy Council office. So those are Justin Trudeau's bureaucrats. Those are the ones who work around him. Garnet Jennis, the Conservative MP for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta, asked for the greenhouse gas calculations for the Prime Minister's travel and work. And wouldn't you know it? It's on page 4 of the response. Since 2015, these people have not tracked a single one of the Prime Minister's greenhouse gas emissions. But you better not treat yourself to that ribeye steak tonight because Justin Trudeau said it's going to cause climate refugees or something. Now, here's the last order paper response that I wanted to show you. It's been posed by Conservative MP Clifford Small. And the reason I want to show you this is because it demonstrates the absolute insane hypocrisy of the Liberals on the subject of greenhouse gas emissions. Because you don't get to have a job in natural gas, and our country doesn't get to reap the benefits of exporting natural gas and offsetting Russian natural gas, because the Liberals are absolutely convinced that natural gas is a bad greenhouse gas, and any country that wants to do business exporting natural gas has to do the climate tabulations that the Liberals refuse to do for themselves. So Clifford Small asked with regard to the Prime Minister's claim that there has never been a strong business case to export liquefied natural gas from Canada to Europe, on what specific evidence or analysis, if any, did the Prime Minister base such claim?
We are in a situation in the short term where we will do what we can to contribute to the global supply of energy by increasing our capacities in the short term, and explore ways to see if it makes sense to export LNG, and if there's a business case for it, to export LNG directly to Europe. And that's something that economic conversations are going on between businesses in Canada and in Germany.
They never actually answer the question directly, but they do answer it kind of by detailing all the hoops that a company would have to jump through for an export project to go ahead, which naturally would make it just so expensive to start a project to export natural gas that you'd have to be out of your mind to even propose such a thing. Let me show you. As the Minister of Natural Resources has stated, in order for any liquefied natural gas project to go ahead, they must ensure that upstream emissions associated with gas production and those from liquefaction facilities fit within Canada's emissions reductions targets and demonstrate that exports from these facilities will be used to displace either higher emitting energy sources like coal and unabated natural gas or Russian supplied oil and gas. Proponents should also build energy transition considerations into project design, such as plans to transition facilities to hydrogen production and export. So these companies have to calculate their carbon footprint before they get permission to build a project that will lower global emissions. This is like what my friend David Menzies always says about liberal hypocrisy. Rules for thee, but not for me. Well, this is analysis for thee, but not for me as long as me is a liberal.
That was an excerpt from the Ezra Levant Show. I'm Ezra Levant. Every weekday, I do a monologue about the topic of the day. Then I interview a fascinating guest either in studio or via Skype. And then I read your mail, whether it's fan mail or hate mail, which is sometimes even more interesting. This is on our premium service, though, called Rebel News Plus. Go to rebelnewsplus.com. It's $8 a month or less if you buy a whole year in advance. You get my show every weeknight, plus Sheila Gunn Reid's show every week. It's called The Gun Show. It's pretty amazing. You know, we rely on you because we do not take a dime from the government. In Canada, that makes us almost unique. So please help us out and help yourself to some great journalism at rebelnewsplus.com.